We continue to take a look at the candidates for the primary. A lot of people getting out there and voting. We're looking at record turnout already in early voting statewide and including out here, very high turnout in the primary. And joining us in studio right now to discuss his campaign for Texas 19, Jodey Arrington. Jodey, welcome back, and thank you for coming in today.
You bet. Thanks for having me, and it's great to be back on the show, especially right here on the front end of early voting. So,
absolutely.
How many times do I get to say vote Arrington for Congress in the next 30 minutes?
Well, I guess you can say it as much as you want. You can end every sentence that way, I guess. Is that what you're going to do? I don't want to spend a lot of time on another candidate in this race, but as you know, an issue has come up, controversy, I guess, with one of your opponents, Star Campaign, with this, I guess, his participation in a LGBT fun run down in Abilene when he was commander at Dyess Air Force Base. What are you hearing on the campaign trail from voters about this? Is this an issue, and what is your response to, I guess, his response on this controversy?
It's definitely an issue. People are talking about it. I think every candidate's getting lots of text, emails, phone calls. At least I am. I say every candidate. I don't know, but I've talked to a couple that are. And I think it's a legitimate issue. I think it's a legitimate question for the colonel. I don't think it's an attack on the military. I don't think it's an attack on Dyess Air Force Base. People are trying to make a decision on who they want to represent them and their families and their community. And they're trying to discern, if the values of the candidates, me included, are aligned with them. And, he's a nice guy, Chad. He is. And I respect his military service. I respect anybody that's worn the uniform. But I would not have made the decision that he made to participate in the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender events like this gay pride fun run. It's one thing to create an environment that where you prevent harassment and discrimination, but you can do that without promoting a cause and tacitly endorsing a cause and the values of an organization. So I'll just leave it at that. That's my position.
Well, and I think this speaks to an issue that we have seen across the U.S. with, and we brought it up during the Faith and Family Forum. You've seen bakeries that have been hit, with fines, and a lot of people attribute this to an LGBT agenda, if that's what you want to call it. Social engineering, experimenting with the military. These are real issues that are out there. So let's say that we have Congressman Arrington in Washington, D.C. How would you confront those issues if those are brought up to Congress and somehow you can vote on these issues, you can influence change on these issues?
Well, with respect to the military, their core mission is to protect our country and to kill and destroy the enemy, and anything that distracts from that, I will oppose it. And I think the military, this is a great example of President Obama and liberals using the military as a laboratory for social experimentation, and I'm concerned about it. But my position was clear at the Faith and Family Forum. It's been clear when asked on the campaign trail, and I'll say it again: anything that threatens traditional marriage and biblical marriage, you can say either one, but for me, it's defined biblically as one man, one woman. I will oppose it. I will defend traditional marriage and promote policies that strengthen that, because great nations are made up of, when you boil it down, it's strong families. And so I'm going to do everything I can to promote and defend traditional families, traditional family values, and the biblical definition of marriage.
Visiting with Jodey Arrington, candidate for Texas 19, here in studio as early voting is underway. You received the endorsement of the Lubbock Avalanche Journal And sometimes newspaper endorsements can be hit or miss with some people. They look at newspaper endorsements and go, "Hey, that's really great." Other people go, "Well, it's a liberal newspaper. I'm a little bit worried here." I had on another one of your opponents on the show yesterday, Glenn Robertson, and he had this to say about the endorsement and about you. He said that he wasn't surprised because the Avalanche Journal is left of center liberal paper, said that you are an old-style establishment elite lifetime bureaucrat. How do you respond to that? And what are your thoughts overall on the AJ endorsement?
I've had a lot of fun running with Glenn, by the way. We've sat next to each other at some of the forums, and lots of levity there, and lots of back and forth and good fun. So let me just say that first of all. Yeah, look, if I didn't get the AJ endorsement, that's a really good political response. Is that it's a liberal rag? Isn't that what you're supposed to say when you don't get it? I mean, if he didn't want the AJ's endorsement, then he shouldn't have gone to the AJ editorial board and vied for that endorsement like every other candidate. And if he doesn't, if he thinks special interest money that comes from organizations like Texas Farm Bureau, which I'm proud to have them stand with me and to have their vote of confidence. If he's against that, then he too shouldn't have gone to post and vied like every candidate for their endorsement. So it seems a little hypocritical to me to say these things. Again, he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. But no, I'm proud to have the AJ's endorsement. And how much of that, how much weight does that carry in an election? I don't know. I hope it's prophetic. I hope it's prophetic, but I like Brandon Hughes a lot. Mm-hmm. And Joe Gulick and that whole group. They love West Texas. They love this community. What their politics are, I have no idea. I mean, we didn't get into that. They asked me what mine were. And after articulating that, they decided I was the best qualified, best capable to represent our district and keep West Texas strong and prosperous. That's so I'm happy to have their endorsement.
You get hit a lot, and we talked about this in our last interview, I think, of being the lifetime bureaucrat, and you've been accused of that throughout this campaign. I think from a lot of people, they keep saying Jodey Arrington, he just wants another government job. He's a lifetime bureaucrat. The mayor said that about you here in studio, that, again, an old-style elite establishment, lifetime bureaucrat. How do you respond to that specifically? And then for those who are on the fence here, because there are a lot of people who are still on this fence in District 19, how do you get that fear out of people of this lifetime bureaucrat when a lot of voters out there are trying to go against that Washington politician?
Yeah. First of all, I don't know how elite you can be coming from a dirt farming community like Plainview and a dad that sold tractors and a mom that was a school teacher. I'm a middle-class kid that was inspired by Ronald Reagan and a school teacher to go make a difference, and that one person could make a difference. And, I feel a sense of calling to public service. I always have. I've had a passion for it, and God's blessed me a great deal. I've made mistakes along the way. I haven't done everything just right, but man, I left every station better than I found it. And so, to be less than 1%, I don't know what it is, to have been a senior advisor to a president of the United States of America and a Republican president and a godly man and a strong leader. Man, I'm terribly honored to have done that. And you know what? I was promoted through the whole process. President Bush wrote me a personal check in my last campaign. Doesn't get any more a higher level of endorsement than that from your former boss and a president and a fellow West Texan. And then Kent Hance. He knows something about politics. He knows something about, and we were running an organization at Texas Tech University System that's over $1 billion. FDIC was over $1 billion organization. And it's a very challenging to turn a battleship like Texas Tech when the enrollments are in decline and you have really very little research to speak of, and then you double research and you put thousands of new students in seats, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for the things that I think we've been able to do. So, I mean, that's to me successful leadership and public service. Kent Hance promoted me from chief of staff to vice chancellor. And then you have one of the best entrepreneurs in this city, if not in this region or state, in Dr. Randy Hickel, who started Grace Health System. And Dr. Hickel saw enough in me. He was an advisory board member while I was vice chancellor on my advisory board. And he saw enough in me that he hired me to be president of the holding company for all these subs, including Grace Clinic and Grace Health System. So I think I've been blessed. I'm just going to say I've been blessed. And I've done well, and I've been successful, and I've left every place better than I found it. Now, if somebody wants to call that a career bureaucrat, hey, it's the political season. That's an easy one, just like saying the AJ's a liberal rag and I don't want special interest money.
Visiting with Jodey Arrington, in-studio candidate for Texas 19. When we come back, we'll take your questions on the phones if you have a question for Jodey Arrington, and we've got other questions as well in this race for Texas 19. All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Visiting with Jodey Arrington in studio. If you have a question for Arrington, feel free to give us a call, 770-5790, toll-free, 1-800-687-0790. And let's head to the phones. George, you're on with Jodey Arrington.
Thanks for taking my call, Chad. I appreciate it. Mr. Arrington, I got a question for you. So I've got it narrowed down to you and Greg Garrett. I started out focusing on you and Glenn Robertson and the Colonel Starr, and heck, everybody I talked to that knew Mayor Robertson said he was a jerk, and then this whole gay pride thing with Michael Bob Starr, I'm just not sure I'm real comfortable with that, and so I've kind of narrowed it down to you and Greg Garrett, and y'all seem like the two best conservatives in the race. But my question is, I'm worried about, y'all touched on this in the last segment, and that's why I called in. I'm worried about the fact that you have been in government so long, and I just, I wonder if you have, if you've drank the Kool-Aid, or if is there anything you could point to me as an undecided voter who's going to go pull that lever any day now? Is there anything, how could you convince me that you've actually got something in your record that you could actually do something about, the ridiculous runaway spending that we've got? I'm sick of them spending more money than we've got. I can't do that at my farm, and they sure as heck shouldn't be able to do it in D.C. So is there anything that you can tell me to get me? This is a complete, I'm right on the fence, and, I'll hang up and listen, but I hope to ask the same question of Mr. Garrett as well. But I'm curious if this is all just talk, or if there's actually anything you could, tell me to substantiate. Everybody's going to say conservative stuff, but is there anything you can tell me to substantiate the fact that you'd be the guy that could actually get something done in terms of, cutting our deficit, cutting our debt, and getting this stuff under control? So I'll hang up and listen. I'm just kind of curious.
Thanks, George.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, George, I want you on my team. Let me tell you. Let me answer your question, and I will repeat myself a little bit from previous shows, but the question, and you're right, the candidates are, I think they're all conservative, from what I've heard, and save and accept this issue that has come about lately with Colonel Starr. But I think for the most part, people are. The question should be, to me, who's going to be able to put those conservative values and principles in play? Who's going to be able to work in that environment and achieve outcomes, policy outcomes that will reflect our conservative values? It's easy to say these things. It's hard to do them to the point of having laws and policies that are good for our country and that reflect our conservative constitutional principles. So, and so let's go to my time with President Bush. I spent 4 years as chief of staff at the FDIC. You talked about cutting budgets. I agree. One of the biggest challenges facing our country is this explosion in government. And it is totally crushing the spirit of Americans. It is killing our economy, and it will be the millstone around the necks of our children and grandchildren in terms of the national debt. So what did I do to translate my conservative principles on fiscal conservatism to results, well, I've helped downsize a federal agency, shrink the bureaucracy by almost 25% of the workforce, which represented some tens of millions of dollars in reduced spending, and then led the effort across the banking agencies to reduce red tape, reg burden on banks, primarily community banks, and then help pass legislation, and I've done that with Texas Tech, and I've done it while I was in the Bush administration, help pass legislation that is good for our economy and that is good for our regional economy with respect to small businesses and community banks. So that's my record. But here's the other part of it. I came home. I didn't stay in Washington. I had opportunities to stay there. I didn't want to stay. I wanted to come back here and raise my 3 children in an environment with the same values that were instilled in me by my parents growing up in Plainview. So I chose to come back, continue to serve, and to raise my family here. That was a decision I made. Could have stayed, could have made more money, et cetera, et cetera. Didn't have any desire to do that. So I've got a record going to Washington, doing the job that needs to be done that reflects our conservative values, and coming home to live under those laws and policies and raise my family.
Is there an issue in this race or a topic in this race where you disagree with, maybe one or two of the other top candidates in this race that really separates yourself from them?
I think just the comment I just made about actually doing what we're all saying. Mm-hmm. That would be, I just think I separate myself from the rest of the candidates, and I think people need to look at the records of who has actually cut government when they said they were. But there are other specific things if you want to get into it when we. Well,
let's go to the phones real quick. Get another listener,
sure.
A voter out there. Jim, you're on KFYO.
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Doing well.
Jody, got a question for you.
You bet.
As the retired director of student business over at Tech, I've been retired about 13 or 14 years now. I hear people running for office in Washington, presidents on down, talking about reducing the cost of tuition, college tuition. Well, my experience over at Tech was
real quick, get to the question, Jim.
Okay, when they deregulated tuition, do you see the fees being the problem that the institutions are allowed to tack on to the students' tuition bill as being the contributor to the debt problem?
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, thanks for the question. So let me answer that. I'm hearing music, so I'm going to take it off. Jim, I think that everybody's concerned with the rising cost of tuition and fees. We need to have transparency on both, and there's lots of reforms, but we don't have a lot of time to get into.